Welcome to another episode of Earth is Our Home with Dr. Thomas Blaine. This is going to be part two, the solar eclipse. That's going to be April the 8th, 2024. So stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Earth is Our Home with Dr. Thomas Blaine. He's an associate professor with the Ohio State University Extension Program, and he's going to be talking further about the upcoming eclipse, April the 8th, 2024. Tom, it's always a pleasure talking with you.
It's a pleasure to do Earth is Our Home, and I'm really excited about this eclipse. I've only seen one in my life. We talked about that, the 2017 eclipse down in Kentucky. That's in episode 1. And I encourage everybody to go back and watch episode 1. We should have the link down below so that they can go watch that. We did some shorts also, but this one's going right through the heart of Ohio. We're going to talk about the path, how to view it, all those kinds of things, and I'm just really excited about it.
Well, I could tell, you're very passionate, having experienced once before a full eclipse, solar eclipse is a must that everyone should see, I believe.
I got to be honest with you. I think once you see a total eclipse of the sun, it changes your life. You'll never be the same again. It changed me. I mean, it did something to me. I've never been the same again. It was kind of a life-changing experience. It was so thrilling.
Well, Earth is Our Home has a number of different unique topics, and you are very passionate about the educational material that you present to the listening audience. I learn a lot. And I know that many individuals who have viewed many of your Earth is Our Home also find very interesting the things that you present.
Well, I'm glad they do that because that's why I got this education. That's why I went K through 12, 4 years of college, 3 years of master's, 4 years of PhD, so that I could gain knowledge that I could share with the world.
Well, I think it's really great, and I really appreciate your time and effort. Tom, we talked earlier about the solar eclipse. What are we presenting today?
Today, we're continuing. We're going to do these shows throughout the year, updates and everything, because I want everybody to be ready for this eclipse. Again, go back and watch part 1 if you didn't, or watch the shorts. Over half of Ohio counties will have a total eclipse, and all counties will have at least 95% of the sun will be covered. The sun will be a tiny crescent in the sky, like the crescent moon, as the moon covers 95% in places outside of totality, like Portsmouth, Chillicothe, Washington Courthouse, and so forth. I wanted to start out with some notable eclipse quotes. This gentleman put it better than I could. He said, in rating natural wonders on a scale of 1 to 10, a total eclipse of the sun is 1,000,000. It's off the charts. And I agree with that. Like I said, it changed my life. I don't know if you remember the song, You're So Vain, back.
Carly Simon.
Yeah, you remember that song?
Oh, yeah.
And in one of the verses, she says, then you flew your Learjet up to Nova Scotia to see a total eclipse of the sun. Well, I don't know where the person started from, but it's definitely worth getting on a jet and flying somewhere to see it. Okay, here it is, Patrick, coming through Ohio. Now look at this. At 3:05, look at where the moon is covering the sun. Way down around Bloomington, Indiana. In 5 minutes, it's moved up over the Indiana Ohio border. The shadow is moving at about 1,500 miles an hour. At 3:15, it's going to be here at where I am in Worcester, Akron, Cleveland. It'll be dark here. Okay. And then it'll move on out past Ashtabula, on up and exit North America at Nova Scotia, and as Carly saying, somewhere in that vicinity. This is the one we showed last time, and I'm going to show this every time because I want you to make friends with this website. You type in the path of the eclipse, and this will come up. This is interactive. You see the plus and minus down there on the lower right. You start scrolling in and find your town if you want. You can find any town. And, when you find a town, like if you find Lima, look at that. It's got all that information on Lima. The total duration of partiality and everything. Then when the full total eclipse begins at 3:09:49, totality ends at 3:13:41. So that's a total eclipse of 3:52, 3 minutes, 52 seconds. That's about the most it is in Ohio. Where I live in Worcester, it's 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Over in Massillon, right on the edge, it's only 30 seconds. The closer you are to the center line, the longer totality is. And the reason why this particular eclipse is not quite as long as some, in some total eclipses, the eclipse lasts for 7 minutes, fullness. Full eclipse lasts 7 minutes. Here, the max is about 3:52. And that's because the moon is not at a constant distance from the earth. As the moon goes around this time, it's further away from the earth. And so the blocking of the sun doesn't last as long. Sometimes when the moon goes around the earth, it's closer. But what I'm saying is, some places, sometimes you get an eclipse of 7 minutes. And that's when the moon is orbiting very close to the earth. Look here at the edge I went over. You can use this. You can move this blue icon around. I moved it over to Massillon because that's right at the edge of totality. Look at that duration of totality, 30 seconds. So if you drive a little bit east of there, it's 0 seconds. It doesn't go into totality. And so you've got to decide, if you live somewhere where it's not very long or where it's not total, you've got to decide if you want to travel to see the eclipse or not. And that's a big decision. Anyway, here's how to get to that website that's interactive. You can just Google eclipse path of total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024, or you can type in the web address, in the web address space, thetimeanddate.com. You can pause the video to get all that down. And then you can start doing all kinds of things. It's an interactive map. Uh, it'll answer a lot of your questions. Now, it's not too early to start making plans. I told you before, if you go back and watch video one, some of the horror stories about people getting stuck in hotel lobbies where every hotel in the region was sold out. I don't know what they did or where they spent the night, but I had made my reservations about 70 to 80 miles away from where I was going to observe the eclipse because I couldn't get a hotel even 6 months before in the zone of totality. Now, I don't know if it's going to be quite like that here. Patrick pointed out something really well. He said, hey, that eclipse was in August of 2017 in southern Kentucky. The percentage of days down there at that time of year that are sunny is very high. This is going to be April the 8th in Ohio. 69% of April 8th in this region are cloudy. Very good chance it'll be cloudy. And so, I'm still thinking and plotting what contingencies I'm going to have. I would love to watch it from my yard. But if there's a storm comes through, lasts for days, I might have to make other plans, Patrick. Also, if you live in totality, like I said in Massillon, 30 seconds, you've got to decide if you're willing to drive toward the longer part of totality, like over toward Mansfield or Norwalk or something like that. But also, you may be getting a lot of phone calls and things from cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews that you haven't heard from when they find out that you're in the path of totality. Hey, we'd like to come and visit, and it's great when family gets together. That's going to be a decision that, you have to make. So here's this discussion about the weather. Now, here's the thing. I've only seen one eclipse. It was on a sunny day. But if it got dark on a sunny day, definitely going to get dark on a cloudy day. So let's say it's cloudy. We could have one of those huge storm systems, Patrick, that covers clouds all the way from Texas to Maine. Those happen, in which case getting in the car and going somewhere is not going to help you. If it's cloudy like that in the totality, like here in Worcester, if it's cloudy, it's still going to get dark, obviously. It's going to get dark when it's clear, it's going to get dark when it's cloudy. All right. However, if you're in partiality, even 95% of the sun being covered will not be enough to turn it dark. You may not even notice it, because even just that small amount of sunshine that is on the edge in that crescent is enough to illuminate the daytime. It may get a little bit like twilight, but it may not. If we're lucky and have great weather, rule number one is never look directly at the sun. Don't look at the sun. When the eclipse is in partiality and you've got those crescent suns, like I've shown you, okay, the sun shines through things like leaves and trees, and you see crescent suns showing up on the ground. In other words, the sun that gets through is in the shape of crescents. It's really cool. I'll show you a picture here about 15 minutes before totality. If it's a sunny day, it'll look like that. Well, it'll look like that everywhere in Ohio. Like before totality, where I live, it'll look like that. Where Patrick lives, it's a partial eclipse. It'll look like that. That's as far as it'll get, is about like that. But I really think that's really cool to see those crescent suns. You know, it's just amazing. You don't need to look up. In fact, do not look directly at the sun. Enjoy the eclipse looking down. But what I also wanted to show you is, Patrick, the point I was making, that even with about a 90%, 95% coverage, look how bright it is. Look down the road
Yeah,
there.
I was noticing all the different individuals standing in the sun, and it looks like there's even one person looking up at the sky.
Well, and I'm asking you not to do that. There are, we'll talk about that a little bit, but you can see how bright it is down there. It's still like daytime, even with 90-some% coverage. When darkness comes, it comes in an instant as the last bit of sun is covered. So never look directly at the sun. You can make a device out of a piece of cardboard, make a round hole with a pen and hold it out and let the sun shine through the hole onto the ground. And the ground should be like a hard surface, like blacktop, to show it better rather than dirt. And you'll see the crescent. Play with the distances from the ground, the size of the hole, and everything, and you'll have a real good time. Now, never look directly at the sun, but when the sun is in totality, you can't see the sun anyway. The sun is covered. So during totality, if you look, you see the moon blocking the sun. And you also see the sun's corona. That's the outer atmosphere. It's throwing plasma and just burning materials millions of miles out into space. It's really awesome to see the corona. But you can't see the corona except during an eclipse, because never look directly at the sun. The corona is safe to look at, Patrick, because it's only about as bright as a bright star. I mean, it's bright, but like a bright star, it won't hurt your eyes. It's not the sun, it's the atmosphere of the sun. And you'll really get a sense of the power raging from the sun. And that's what you'll see. That's what a fellow next to me in Southern Kentucky took. That's exactly what I saw when I looked. Right in the afternoon, sunny day, day turned to night, and just look at that corona. Truly awesome.
Now the corona is the hot gases escaping the sun. Is that correct?
Yes, it's the sun's outer atmosphere, and it's made of plasma, really. A lot of hydrogen and hydrogen nuclei just burning with tremendous heat and light. But when you look at it from Earth, it's about as bright as a relatively bright star. So it won't hurt your eyes. Now, look, if you're going to insist and you want to look at the sun during partiality, and I don't advise you to do it, but listen, Certainly don't do it without sunglasses, and don't do it with sunglasses. You can get approved safety glasses, welders. They look at what they're welding and it's incredibly bright. They have special lenses to protect their eyes. If you want to, you have a lot of time. Most people get checkups. Go to an ophthalmologist, your eye doctor or optometrist. Tell them you want to watch the eclipse and you would like a special kind of lens, because these things are cheap, but you got to make sure they're effective. And an ophthalmologist or an optometrist will know what kind of lens is effective and what's not. They may just say, no, I'm not going to help you do this. And that's up to them. At some places where you go, like where I was at the park, they were handing out safety glasses, the city parks and rec department, you know. But to be honest with you, looking through those glasses at partiality was not something I really got a thrill. I'd rather watch partiality by looking at those shadows on the ground and then wait for totality when it gets dark, and then look at the corona and the moon.
Now, when the sun is totally blocked, it becomes pitch dark. Is that correct?
It becomes like dusk.
Oh, okay.
The stars, you can see the bright stars, the brightest of the stars. You can see them. It's very eerie. It's like dusk. It's like after the sun is set for about 20 minutes, it's dark enough to see stars, but it's not like midnight where you can see all the stars. I think at one time I counted like 13 stars and planets. It's eerie. It's just really weird, but it's essentially dark. And the plants and animals start to do their things. The plants start to close up, the blossoms and things like that. And then the animals start preparing. They think it's night coming. It's, if you're out in nature, different people are going to see it in different places, some in the city, like in a football stadium. They're going to fill the stadium with people to watch the eclipse. Well, if you do that, you're not going to be in tune with those things. But if you're out in a field near the woods, that's a good place to see it, because you might observe some funny things in nature. But it's not quite like midnight, but it's definitely dark to see planets and stars. Here's my contact information, and I hope that you will consider getting in touch with me. You can ask me questions about the eclipse, Blaine.17 at osu.edu, 330-466-7877. And we're going to continue to do some of these throughout the year. I think we're going to back off on it now. You've got basic information. You've got a couple long videos and some short videos to watch. But we will be revisiting this topic as the year goes by, Patrick.
Usually our weather forecasts have become more and more accurate. By
Yes.
that, I mean, within a day or two, they pretty much give you what's going to happen. And so if you're planning on watching the eclipse and they predict cloud over, you have a day or two to make arrangements to other parts of the United States.
That's right. And if you have a hotel reservation somewhere here and you find out it's going to be cloudy, generally you can cancel that reservation, up to 24 hours before or whatever, and be prepared to get in a car and go somewhere to see it. You've got the path. You can combine that with an overlay of the weather, but flexibility would be very important there. The only thing I would warn you is, I told you about the traffic last time. It took me about 6, 7, almost 8 hours to go 120 miles after the eclipse. In other words, the traffic is going to be really crazy after the eclipse. If you converge to a place like that where it's sunny, you're not going to be the only, everybody else is going to see that also. And might be hard to get a hotel there. And it'll definitely be hard to get out of there afterwards with a lot of traffic. I showed you that traffic jam on I-65. That's the way it goes like that. So the more places that are sunny along this, and almost the whole country was sunny on the last one. It went from Oregon to the Carolinas, and it was still crazy because people come from all over the world. In your little hometown, if it's in totality, you may be there with somebody from Spain, somebody from Japan, Australia, New Zealand, France, Great Britain. They could be from anywhere, having flown over to see the eclipse, because it is that big a deal.
Tom, one final thought. You present a lot of really good material on different things that really affect all of us on Earth as our home. If someone is interested in contacting you and asking you to speak, is that all right?
Yes, that's what I'm expected to do. That's what Extension's all about, taking the university to the public. And we have this technology for Earth as our home to reach out to a lot of people. But if you want me to do a Zoom with your group, or if you want me to come in person and talk to your group about, a lot of environmental issues, global warming and climate change and those kinds of things, or the eclipse, I'd be happy to do it. Yes.
Okay. Hey, we're talking with Dr. Thomas Blaine. Dr. Thomas Blaine is an associate professor with the Ohio State University Extension Program. Feel free to give him a call. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Patrick.